What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to a very exciting unboxing. This is Middara Wave 2 Pre-Pack 1, or as they call it, 2A. There's going to be a 2B that is actually almost done as well, but I really appreciate the... Let's get this out, and then let's have like a quick follow-up with everybody else, right? And I think that's awesome. I think that's a good way to do it, especially with how long Succubus Publishing has been doing this. Middara Journey, this massive game that they've been making. So, yeah, this is still plenty of content and more to come later. So stay tuned, obviously, for the other one as well. As somebody who got everything just about, I'm excited for this one. All right, so, yeah, they did a good job already, I can tell, like packing this up, because it is pretty much flush and yet also still a big box. And that's because I think they have some that just can't get any smaller. But let's go ahead and take out some of the stuff that's just right here. There we are. Okay. And then we can take out this. Here we are. Okay. Ooh. And there we go. Okay. There's that. And it looks like I got this upside down for you guys. Let's put this right side up. All right. So then we also have this one. Well, these are bigger than I thought they'd be. And this one. And this one. This is why the box is so big. All right. Okay. Honestly, it's not nearly as heavy as like the main box. I mean, it's not as big either, but because it's like attached, because it's just minis. This whole thing, it's so part of that. It's gonna take the whole thing. All right, there's the box. Goodbye, box. Okay. Whew. Try and get this out of here now. It's a perfect fit. Imagine that. There we go. Okay. We'll do this at the end, obviously, because there's lots of minis. So before that, let's go ahead, start with the smaller stuff like this. So I want to zoom in. Too much. Okay, right about there. All right. And let's take a look. It's already started to punch itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at these. So, all right. Here's the little encoder, right? These are always fun. This one seems to actually be quite well put together. It's very clear, not super scratched up, and pretty taut as well. So this is actually quite nice. Not too bad at all. And of course you have their cardboard. None of this has like any of the like fancy, like I don't even know what to call it, but the like photo cell almost over it, right? And then we have some standees here. So this is fun because it's what I understand is this is like kind of self-contained, which is pretty cool. We have let's go and look at the book. Why not? So obviously artwork, super cool, love it. Very a cartoonish, cel-shaded kind of look to it all. Yeah, this is awesome. Typical, as you'd expect, right? You got the table of contents, some credits, including playtesters and special thanks and all that, which is obviously super cool. And then how to use this content, because there's so much content out there, right? It's like, okay, how do you use this? What do you need for it? Summary of components, quick build guide, which is awesome. So you get started just playing this without even having to do anything else. This is really cool artwork. I love the coloration on that. That's awesome. And then, of course, story. They're big in the story, obviously, so they have a lot of that. And then, as you can see, this is where this would come in, right? So that's what that is. And then you just get missions and stuff, which is super cool. Just kind of like the main game, but self-contained in a lot of ways, which is awesome. Yeah, that's cool. They have some diagrams in the back of how everything's going to be set up. And that's it. That's it. Otherwise, you have a few new things. Let's go and take a look at those. Let's see. Here we are. Okay. All right. Come on. There we So, here we have the Elenian Thug. We have George over here. Here's George again. It's the Command and Adventurer. Aisling. Aiko. And then the Adventurer. Aiko. Of course, a whole bunch of story on the back. Again, always big on that. I will say, I know they have several artists now. And yet, I think this all still really does meld together very good. Obviously, they produce a lot of art for this game. And there are a few different styles. But from what I can tell, at least so far, looking at everything from before and everything now, it really melts together in a good way. It's not like too distracting or anything like that. Okay, then we have the small cards there. Again, I think they look great. Good quality. They're not too thick, not too bendy though either. And crisp edges, right? The print, edge to edge, looks good. Easily read, looks good. Sorry, that was a little far behind. Let me zoom in a little bit. Now that we're just looking at some cards here. All right. Then we have some items, equipment, stuff like that. Let's see what we got going on here. All right. Of interest here is that this does not come in a box. This is like just completely separate. So you have to fit this in. That looks delicious. That looks painful. So that's it here. Is what you get. Again, pretty self-contained, not too bad, right? That's it for that one. So look at that, we're done. All right. That's it, that's the video, guys. No, well, let me be a little organized here. Because I'll be picking up the pieces later. But for now, this can go off camera. And let's do the other small one. All right. So this one been long in the coming. I believe this was a stretch goal, or an early backer. Or I can't even remember. It's been so long, so long. But I do believe you had to purchase this character separate if you didn't get them. I believe. Again, it's been a long time, so my apologies. I last covered this game quite a bit ago, and yet here they are still delivering. Even with tariffs and all that. In fact, they even released a lot of these as STLs, which is super awesome. I might have to get to printing on some of those. Just very cool to see that they're doing that. Again, a little big because it's as big as this. I'm always a fan of having, like the Hot Wheels kind of action figure thing where it's pretty flat within a bulk there. But I understand keeping it all boxed. And a lot of people are really like trying to keep their shelves organized, and that's one of the ways to do it. Okay, so I don't even have to open this, right, because it's just the front and back of the card here. But as you can see, they have like a Dark Rituals passive, which is super cool. All their stats here, again, the artwork, and then on the back, again, more story, of course. But they do come with their items and their minis, so let's take a look. Okay, so we do still have the locking trays here, so that it doesn't need to be taped, and they didn't tape it, thank God. That's what the locking tray is for. They even have a silica packet in there, which is nice. There's not even a whole lot of cardboard in here. They're just staying careful. Here's the initiative card here. And then they do have a few items. Let's go and take a look at them. All right. Oh, come on. Hello. There we are. Okay. All right. So we have the herb bag and the dark staff of the divine. Very cool. I love the skull on the end of the staff. I think that's super important. And it almost looks like a paintbrush or something on the other end. So this is not the painting mini. And then the mini here. It does have a lock-in for the base. Not ideal, but all right. And we're going to zoom in on the mini here. There we go. It's good enough. It is their normal kind of very robust bendy plastic, so it's going to keep its shape quite well. I will say they've really increased the quality of their minis over time, and I think it shows in this one quite well. It's still not the absolute best, but it is quite okay. For instance, the rim on the hat, fairly thick, but at the same time, I think it fits this hat quite well. There's a little bit of a mold line here, nothing too terrible. The hair and the texture in the hair actually looks great. Love the like double layer dress kind of thing here, and again, all of the ripples and stuff there look awesome. I love the separation. So the arms separate, but then even the satchel over her like shoulder is separate as well. That's super cool to see. There's a lot of different layers here, right? Because you essentially have like the satchel, her cape, and then her hair even behind that. So very cool. Base to base on here, and they've done a lot better job at the feet on these. A lot of times they were like melting in. This one maybe just slightly on the bottom, but overall, again, pretty okay. Yeah, all the texture, especially the like ruffles here, look awesome. The staff looks super cool. Here is the skull, so you can see the skull. Redo the whole thing. All right, so now that I'm where I need to be on the zoomed in mini, yeah, looks super great. They've really increased the quality of their minis a lot. Loving this kind of cape here, or the back of this kind of dress thing with the flowing ruffle feathers and whatnot. That looks cool. Texture on the hair looks great. A little bit of a mold line on the hat. And the rim of the hat's maybe a little bit thicker than I would like. However, I think for this hat, it fits well, even if it doesn't quite match the artwork of the hat, right? I love the layers of everything. Even the satchel is separate. That's cool too. So you can see that it's like, it's the satchel, and then it's her, and then it's her little cape thing, or, you know, little whatever those are, and then the hair behind it. So layered look to it. Just makes it look quite advanced. Facial features look good. Those are nice in there. Staff has the skull, which looks super cool. That'll be an awesome painted to really pop that out. Legs are separate from the dress, which is good. And they've traditionally kind of struggled a little bit with some, you know, I'm melting into my base a little bit. I think this is okay. Maybe there's a little bit of depth more I would like for the feet, but it's certainly a lot better than they've had in the past. So I think they've really improved a lot, especially compared to those first ones. This is a more than okay miniature for the board game. So yeah, and just a cool design. I love like the big gloves and stuff like that. That's fun too. Okay, so that is it on that one. Like I said, this is pretty straightforward when it comes to these smaller ones. Let's go ahead now and look at the Pit Boss. Gotta zoom out on this one. Okay. All right, this is maybe the heaviest one. I don't know if the Cave Sickle one is heavier. I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and pop it open. All right, so here, obviously on the back, we have the contents, and then kind of what this is and what you still need to play with it, and then a look at what's inside. So that's a little tease on what's coming up. I'm excited for like the big dwarf guy. I think he's gonna be pretty cool. All right. Okay, take a look. Box is nice. I really like just how sturdy it is. It's very, very nice there. And then even the inside, we have some like, you know, art decoration, stuff like that. Okay, so here we have a few things. Some we can look at, some we're not going to. And this is all an expansion, so I'm assuming you guys have already seen the main one here, so I'm not... Wow, that was loud. I'm not too concerned about, you know, showing off everything, because you guys already kind of know the game. Alright, so in this we have the extra large hidden card deck, so we're not going to look at that, but they've blocked off both sides there. Appreciate that it's separate, so I can open it and still be alright there. And then we have the actual book. It even has like a little difficulty and stuff like that. It's kind of like in a video game when you would take it. Art, this is the same as on the cover. It looks super cool. I love the nose ring is pretty awesome. That's kind of fun. And yeah, it's like a mixture between a dwarf and a gremlin. I don't know. So here's a whole bunch of story. Obviously they're very big on story here. Now you have the content, and then how to include this, what you need, all that kind of stuff. some quick start rules. I like the fact that these do have, you know, quick build, quick start, all that kind of stuff, so you can really get into it. And then again, the new rules here. Awesome artwork there. That is actually super cool. That might be one of my favorite. I just really like the scope of the mines there and stuff like that. Just looks awesome. And then here's your typical, here's the map, you know, here's what you're doing. You can go through quite a few of these, more and more and more, and that's really it. There's a quick reference guide in the back. That's super helpful. But that's it. Okay, so that is how you play the game. Let's go and take a look at this. I'm not going to pop these out. I'm just going to kind of look at what's on offer. Again, this is the same quality as before. They have the shiny reflective parts on the gems. I really appreciate that. They're one of the few that do this on their cardboard, and it is so fun. I love it. They have it labeled here. This wasn't wrapped, but they do have a 1 of 2 and then 2 of 2. So you know if you got everything there, which is nice. And then obviously the back, same thing there. Looks fantastic. You know, I love the shiny parts on the cardboard. Same here, you got a few more. Just some ladders and gems and stuff. I don't know what this part is, but that's kind of interesting. And yeah, looks really, really cool. Even these little ones here are shiny. I love it. Okay. After that, all we have is the tray. Ugh, come on. Maybe. maybe not. Here we go. We'll do this. Again, I love that it's not taped. Okay. All right. So we do have some of the like silicone rubber band-esque plastic whatever base clips. I much prefer these. I think these are great. So happy to see that. We have a whole stack of that, and then we also have a whole bunch of hidden medium and hidden small. Again, I'm not going to spoil them, but you guys know there's all sorts of fun stuff in there, and I appreciate that they are separate. Okay, now here though, it says do not reveal cards in this deck until specifically instructed to do so. So I don't know if that's the front or top, but either way, there's a whole bunch here. We're going to look at the minis anyway, so maybe I'm not too concerned, but as you can see, there's quite a few. That's because of all the different variations that they have of their units, right? So you might be fighting this guy, for instance, but, you know, he's a little bit different this time kind of thing. So let me actually put this over here so I can see what I'm grabbing, and then let's zoom in on the miniature. There we go. Hopefully that's a good in between, because there's definitely some larger ones here. These are like the cutest freaking enemies in the world. This is awesome. I love it. So they have a huge hat that's way too big for their heads. You can see their face in there, and it is all detailed in there. I love that. I like their little arm tassel things that they have. That's kind of cute. And then they're wearing like these like just simple pants, this big old tail, and yeah, the gloves, and then their staff with a little gem on it. The gem is going to be super cool. Again, it is quite flexible, so it's very robust plastic there, which is nice. The ears are cute. This would look adorable painted. It really would. Separation of all the different stuff is good. This is a fun little mini. I like it. Very different from a lot. Very hard to get in there and paint, so best of luck to that. But yeah, you get quite a few of those guys. We also have this little guy here. I love these little guys. They're like, this is just, he just has his big old goblet he's offering up. Again, love the ears. Just a little tiny, he's got what, 3 arms? That's kind of odd, but you know, whatever. I'm not one to judge. The goblet is filled up. It does have a little rim there, so you can kind of see. Painted, that would actually look quite good. Yeah, just a little bit. You like can't even see his face. He's just like hidden in there, but oh, no. I think that is his face. Really hard to tell. I'd have to look at the art. That looks like there's like eyes there. So I just have to check. Really tiny. All right. Got some of these guys. Again, a lot of these little guys. Again, love it. Love the little like kind of tassel things so you can see the motion of the arms. The beards are fantastic. The like goggles are great. The headlamp is fun. I like the ears. I like that they're concaved in there, so that looks really, really nice. There's little chips and dings in their ear. You can tell they've been working a lot. Texture on the base looks fantastic. It is interesting that some are textured and some are not. I'd prefer them all to be textured if I could. But maybe they're only in a certain area so that they can kind of get away with that. That's fine too, I suppose. Their like weapon is obviously a working tool. Looks awesome. I think that's very, very cool. It's definitely been used a lot, and kind of in an active marching, I'm going to hit you kind of pose, which almost seems funny because of how just, tiny and cute they are. Okay, but we do have a few others. So we have these guys here. A little bit, but they got huge beards now, right? The goggles are still looking cool. I love their like bow almost is I think what that is. That's what it almost looks like. Yeah, here's the arrows there. So strapped on there. They are a little flat on the X-Plane, right? It helps them kind of print in just one go. So they're not multi-piece really too much, except for this tail here because of the negative space there. But plug that in, looks great. I like their little tiny feet. That's fun. Again, huge ears. So it seems their beard and their ears both grow with time, as far as I can tell. Yeah, looks fun. They are like all beard. All right, and then we have some other ones. So there's this thing, which luckily I didn't have to zoom out too much on. Yeah, very cool. So you can see where the pieces are right there, right? Kind of goes with the flow there. I think a tiny bit of like the Vallejo putty or anything like that could fill that up just fine. Even a primer plus a paint, I don't even think it's going to be noticeable. It's very much on the underside for the most part. It kind of only comes up a little bit on this side right here. Not too bad though. So when it's actually on the base, I think, or just on the table, you don't even see that. Looks fantastic. The depth of some of these, by the way, look cool. I love the teeth here. The teeth even coming up above the mouth is very interesting. I like the little feet thing it's got going on here. Yeah, it looks dangerous with that mouth. Yeah, no, thank you. Very cool mini. I like that's a fun one. And then we have another large one here. Yeah, so as you can see, they can keep growing big apparently. So this guy is huge. He does have his weapon here bent a little bit, so I'll have to put this under some hot water and guide it back, but it should be straight, obviously, right? It does have, like, I don't even know what this is. It's kind of interesting that that's on top of there like that. But then he has this big old, like, log hammer thing that he's got going on. Huge backpack. I love the gems, by the way, on the base. Those are fun. Yeah, I don't know what he's even carrying in there. It's a lot, though. You can see the strain on the backpack, so that's kind of fun. Multi-piece here. All the arms are separate, stuff like that. The hair texture looks fantastic. I'm actually probably going to have to zoom out just a smidge. There you go, just so you can see it a little bit better. There's that little like nose ring that he has, and again, a little two beady eyes, but then the big headlamp there. There's a little bit of a mold line, looks like going up here. It's not the best placement, just because you can see it fairly well, and the texture there might make it a little bit hard to get rid of, but overall quite good there. Again, backpack also separate. No real gaps or anything there. It looks very believable that it's on there. The detail on the pants and the legs, super cool. Love that. It looks like, it's kind of hard to tell, but the underside of this is flat. There's no texture there. Again, you literally have to pick the mini up and turn it over to see it, but technically no texture there. I can't tell. I think on the top it does have texture, but again, very hard to see. It's kind of tucked in there, so nothing too bad. All right, very cool. That is it for this expansion. So yeah, not too bad at all. Fits in quite nicely. I think this stuff looks really cool. It looks like a lot of fun, and packs up quite well. All right, let's look at the. Oh my goodness, I don't even know how to pack things up. Look at this. Look at that. What am I doing? All right. All right. It looks like this almost bends up a little bit. It's probably how it got bent. Okay. Let's take a look at this one. Oh, the Cave Sickle Queen. The Cave Sickle enemies are like really interesting. It kind of reminds me in like the Stormlight Archive. They have, what is it, Crim? I don't know. I imagine them almost the same, right? They're like these like little kind of weird crab enemy things. Kind of interesting. Okay. Here we are. There we go. Da. Okay. So, back probably the same as the other one. Yep. Just kind of shows you a little bit about it. up, very similar situation here. All right, where you have the card then. I do want to see some of the artwork. So I'm going to open this up for that reason. Okay. So we're not going to look at the hidden cards here. We will take a little gander here just to see. So very similar, right? Where they have the art there, or the story there, and then some big art. Again, really like seeing that. Oh, she's in the background there, you can see. That's kind of cool. Some of the items, that's kind of fun as well. We have some more art before it starts. Again, very cool just to see the heroes in different situations. Very cool there as well. Oh, I like the little like squirrel, bunny, purple things. Then it starts up. And that's it. Okay. Very cool to see these. Again, just going to take a look here. Have quite a few tokens. These have that reflective on it, on the like little egg sac things or something like that. Probably on the water as well. Yep. And then looks like just more in there. Again, two sheets of that. And then we got some minis. So let's take a look. An easy open there. Really appreciate that. Let's move this up a little bit. Okay. We have some more of those. We have a stop. Don't reveal any of these. Don't reveal any of these. Don't reveal any of this. So again, you'll take a look once you get to it. So I'm not too concerned about that. Let's take a look at some of the minis. These are very similar to previous ones. Right? So that's... I like how tall this one's standing. And then it even has like that big head spike too. The teeth look pretty scary as well, so I like that. There's like a tongue in them, and it even kind of hangs out, which is very interesting. And it looks like they have, like, I don't know if they have fur. I'll have to look at the art again. I don't think that's fur, though. I think it's like some kind of sinew or something like that. But because otherwise they look like a rock, right? But yeah, like all the spikes and the little grooves and stuff. Again, slap a wash on this. It's going to look great. Get a couple of those. Get some of these guys, too. And another kind of medium-sized enemy here. This crab thing looks super cool. Again, it is multi-piece there, but they went along the lines of everything, and I think that fits quite well. The underside is textured. It is connected on the base there, but all the legs, I think, I don't think they're attached. I think they're all technically separate, which is kind of fun. We got the pinchers, one open, one closed. That looks cool. Again, I like the big spikes there. He almost looks angry with this little ridge right here, which is also kind of fun. Yeah, a cool little mini. Then we have the Cave Sickle Queen. So yeah, huge, like all the egg sacs here and stuff like that. So until she's kind of protecting her young. Very much bug-like, a lot less of the spikes and stuff like that. Definitely almost looks like a caterpillar earwig kind of thing going on here. These are like super smooth, almost like wings is what it almost looks like there, which is kind of interesting. And then obviously still in kind of an attack pose here. Multiple arms right there kind of attached. And then these kind of big overhead ones are really neat. I kind of dig that. And it almost has a little bit of an alien head to it, you know, from the Alien series. Yeah, kind of gross. Hopefully you kill it. And then, to make matters worse, this one I might have to zoom out a little bit on. You got two of these guys. Two of them. And yeah, this one, super cool. I love that they're attached here, and yet it's not super bendy. They did ABS on this to make sure that it stays nice and flat and can hold up. So it is literally hovering over its base. That is actually really cool. Like, really cool. I like that a lot. I think that's super awesome. Giant spikes with spikes on the spikes. You have like this big old sinuous mouth that goes to the top of the head, to the bottom of the head, with all these different eyes on it. This like creepy looking tongue thing going on. And yeah, I would not want to fight this thing. It looks like the cave came alive and then I was trying to kill you. And honestly, kind of frightening, I'm not going to lie. That's a fun one, though. My son would like the design of this one just because it looks cool. Looks cool. You get two of them. And this is heavy. This is like solid. This is not hollow. This is a decent-sized mini. And that's it for that one. So the only thing left, guys, is the miniatures. Super excited to see those. It's going to be awesome. So just got to figure out how to put these in. There we go. I think that's okay. It'll be okay for now. How about that? Okay. There we go. Quite a lot of game in both of these. From all the different scenarios and stuff, those books are pretty thick. So that's cool as well. All right. Now, for the big one, here we go. Token upgrade pack for Act 1. This is super fun and honestly pretty much what I've been waiting for to finish completing Act 1. I was playing it with my son and daughter, and we really liked the story was cool, that it was all like voiceover and everything. We liked the essentially character creator, right? Where it's very cool to build your own like class with all the different equipment and skills and all that. It was just super cool and a lot of that. But we were always kind of bummed about some of the tokens. So, you know, now we have some miniatures for it. And with the STLs, there's a lot that you can keep printing out even as well on top of that, which is, again, super cool. All right. But you don't have to if they just give them to you like this. There is convenience for them just building it. Okay, so what is the token upgrade pack? How do I use it? Is there an errata included? So a little bit there as well. And then here is some more there that you'll have to reveal. Very cool. Okay. As you can see, it's all just minis. I actually like how skinny they made this. That's actually kind of impressive for some of the size of the minis. Okay, we do have a fair amount of these, but not too many. Don't need too many there. And otherwise, it's just minis. So let's just take a look. Let's start going through it. See what we see. I'm going to try and get them all. All right. So, I'll start with some small ones. Here are some branches. Yeah, so there's just a couple of these. Again, this is what I like about these kind of things is you can paint them up real quick. When I was painting the trees for Mythic Battles Ragnarok, again, same thing. It was quick and easy to do. Not too bad at all. Got a couple of these as well. Love the big old chain. It is filled in. So it almost would have been nice just to make the chains big enough to where you didn't really have the middle part. But that's all right as well. But it's definitely too much to like cut through. So you're just going to have to paint it. Maybe some soft detail there. But otherwise, this is actually looking pretty cool. I like the little tassels there. Again, the body looks good. The head with like the big antenna, that looks super awesome. The fingers, they're all well defined there, so that's good, especially for just a small hand. Wings are the highlight, right? This little fairy person, and the wings definitely look nice and crisp and really, really cool. So I actually really dig that as well. Yeah, just kind of fun to have the fairy carrying a chain. And you get a couple of those. All right, let's take a look at this one now. Okay, so you also get two of these. Again, very, very cool. It is all separate, which I actually kind of dig. This is bent a little bit, so you'd want to straighten that out, perhaps just a tad. But it actually is pretty skinny too, which means it's not like overly like standoutish, right? And actually, we don't even have to do the hot water trick. It just kind of corrects itself pretty easily there. Muscle definition is really good. The hair is really good. Facial features are cool. The weapon comes to a nice point. I actually really like that. The hand on the weapon defined very well. The flow of the cloth looks super cool. I like his like how down it's like kind of loosely fitting here. I forget the type of leggings that is, and then very wrinkled at the bottom. But just a cool little dynamic mini. I like it. I like it. It's got like half of the face here as a shield. That would look so cool painted. That's actually pretty neat. Okay. Got that one. We'll get to the big ones, guys. Here's this one. The swords came out great, actually. When I first saw this, I was worried it might get a little bendy, but it's actually quite good. These stayed in really, really well. Obviously, the swirl of the cape is super cool. Very dynamic pose on this one. The rope with the like rope knot looks good. There is texture at the end of that, so that looks nice as well. The flayed fingers, that are on the ground, fantastic. Even the separate ones here, very, very cool. They've definitely, like I said, stepped up their game on their minis. And yeah, looks nice. Looks nice. That's cool. All right, here's another one. This one's fun. This is the, I can't even think of her name now. Either way, she's sitting on a big tree stump, and her tail's like wrapped around here. She's got her hair definition in general in this is looking really, really good. I don't know what she's holding. Some kind of flower by the looks of it. That'd be cool painted, of course. A little spiky tail. The texture on the tree stump is like amazing, like really, really good. I'm quite impressed with that. Very cool. Yeah, just a cool little pose. Again, it kind of reminds me of like a fairy thing. All right, we got this one here. This time reading a book. I love the book that's open. The pages are different than the book cover. That's fantastic. It all is actually quite sturdy. The hair, again, hair texture looks great. The like fur around the tail on the beginning and end look very, very cool. I think they did a good job on the texture there, making it different than the hair. So that's cool. Again, I don't know exactly what she's holding, some kind of like bowl or something like that. But yeah, it looks very, very cool. And she's not even attached to her tail. So she's literally just kind of attached by the tail to the base. But then that's it. And it stayed quite sturdy. Okay, this one as well. Again, the hands actually quite impressive for how big the hands are. The base texture on this is cool. She's actually connected to the base off of the base proper and on this like little outcropping of rock here, which is very neat. Cloth texture, very nice, very separated, so that looks good. Yeah, mostly what I like about this is the pose. The ears, quite pointy. Like that's actually quite sharp, and again, well defined there, separate from the hair. Very cool. Multi-part, right? So because otherwise you'd have these negative spaces, and it's just too dynamic. So both arms are separate as well, and I think the assembly looks good. All right, this is a fun one. This was one of the cooler art pieces as well. I had something very similar to this. The updraft of like the magical power that's coming in here, that's like moving the hair up and stuff like that. Very, very cool. Crisscrossed arms with open palms on either side just look awesome. The feet are like pointed in a little bit, which is kind of cool. All sculpted base here, which is nice. I really like the texture on the bottom dress area. That's super cool. Assembly has a little bit of a gap here. Not too bad, but there is some there. That's the first I've seen of that. Yeah, what I mainly like here, though, is that hair. It kind of reminds me, I know this is getting a little dumb, but Trunks, when he would turn Super Saiyan, but he had the longer hair, Future Trunks that is. It kind of reminds me of that, where it comes up and almost, it's not spiky like that, but it is, that I get a kick out of that. That is kind of fun. So, yeah, a very cool mini, very dynamic. And I don't have any other ones kind of like that. I like the play of like wind there. All right, let's take a look at this guy. We're getting into some larger ones now. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so I stay in camera. You guys can still see quite good. Okay. All right. Yeah, this one is crazy. I do not like whatever's coming out of his mouth. So we're just going to ignore that. But he does have this like crazy plant thing with like a spiked ball in the end. And he's like part plant by the looks of it too. Though he does have fingers here on this cane. Again, looks very, very cool actually. I like his tie and his top hat. That is quite fun. He's even got glasses. Those look good. The assembly on all the pieces look great. Again, the clothing actually really, really good. It's all textured even in here. And his legs there are as well. Just a crazy looking mini. All right, next is this one. And again, we do have a little bit of a bend, so we'll have to straighten that out. But it shouldn't prove too hard to do that. I do like that these are not really thickened too much. And so their plastic that they use is a little bit softer. That's why sometimes details are a little bit softer as well. However, it does mean they're quite robust as well. These are like never going to break like ever. The texture and fur of this gigantic tail is super cool. I love the fact that they do these like big tails. It's one of the larger differences I feel in Middara that really sets it apart as like a different style. A lot of it is that they just do a lot of these kind of big tails, which is kind of cool. The hair, again, also very cool. It gets a little soft here, where I feel like another strand would have looked good, but otherwise okay. And again, when it comes over, that's nice too. Big old ears are super awesome. The fur on the clothing, like the little fur line, very cool, very in style with the art, so that works. And you can see her hand there. She does have her fingers. Maybe here, I'm going to zoom in real close. You can see them there. So when you paint it, you'll actually be able to paint in her whole hand, which is good. That it didn't like meld in or anything like that, but it is very faint without it being painted. You may not even quite be able to tell. I had to look pretty close. But yeah, and again, the fur line in the middle, for some sense of decency, that helps too, of course. Fairly separate from the leg. I would have liked that to not be so flat. So they just have this one delineating line here to separate them, but otherwise it's perfectly flat, and I think that's a little offsetting. But other than that, pretty cool. Again, off the base here on this little rock, it's the only thing they added onto the base, though, for that. Okay. Let's take a look at this one. Also very cool. I love the hair. I love that it like is cinched here and then like braided and then a little ball and then it ends there. That's neat. The wings on the legs are kind of cool, and I love this hand coming out of the book. That's super neat. The books, the binding on them, actually quite good. Even the outside, they look very nice. The whole pose is kind of cool just because of her hands are up like that. Needs a little bit of trimming on maybe the fingers there, but otherwise okay. And again, we have these kind of like wing kind of things coming out of the head as well. Her head being like cockeyed that way, again, also super cool. I dig that as well. Yeah, very, very cool. Definitely a unique style, a little cartoonish, a little fun. It looks like there's even a symbol on this book here. So just, I mean, overall quite good. This actually if this is a book, this is probably the worst one, which is kind of interesting because it's part of the base, right? Because these have very clear page and book cover, but this one doesn't. It's completely flat on the base. The base is ABS, which is nice, but it is kind of interesting that it actually has worse detail than the other stuff. Kind of interesting. Okay, we have another little crab guy. This is the same exact one that you get in that other box that I already unboxed, so we're going to skip over that and go to this lady here. Very cool sword. Again, giant tail. Always dig that. And yet they're always different. They end differently, so I appreciate that. This weapon, though, is crazy. It's like freaking Monster Hunter size. Again, a little bendy, so you'll have to kind of straighten it slightly there. The legs are cool because this one is obviously normal and this one is obviously not. So half of her is turning into this like wood disease thing, right? And it just looks super cool to see it kind of melding and becoming part of them there. I think that's actually really neat. Even on like the horn, you're just getting a lot more texture on this side than this side. And that's a really cool pose, right? Or a really cool style. The hair here, again, does get a little streamlined here. It is that cartoonish look, so it does work. But yeah, sometimes the smoothness is a little off-putting. A little bit of a mold line you'd have to trim up there. But otherwise, highly dynamic. Hugely dynamic. Thanks to that tail, they're able to really just kind of go crazy with the style there. All right, let's look at some of the, I think everything else is quite big. So let's go and take a look. Next up, we got this guy. Again, very, very cool. Kind of like the Tuxedo Man here, right? Where the plants are coming out of him and now it has this like big weird tongue thing and stuff coming out of his tongues, and that's gross too. Even the like hair is melding, and that's an interesting thing to do, that the hair is turning almost into like a little tail thing. These belts, very nice and crisp. I actually like those, especially on the like fur and stuff. I think that looks quite good. Muscle definition is great. There's all this kind of interesting detail and morphing of him that just looks really cool. I like the like bolted on kind of armor. Definitely owning into it. Again, big hand here. Looks disgusting. I don't like all the little wrinkles in the palm. That's gross. So we're going to move on from that. The broken skin and stuff. It just looks cool. It's crazy. Even the feet are now gone, and he's now like he's now a plant person. Okay, then we got this guy here. Again, very stylized when it comes to the weapon. It's actually quite straight, probably because of how thick it is. It's definitely a giant cleaver. This is a giant dude. Even the hat is just wild and crazy with these big old fins here. It's got a heart. It's like Kingdom Hearts style now. Different layers of armor layered on top of each other, and this big old baggy pants stuff looks super cool. I love the basing here. Just looks awesome. Very cool style. Very textured with like the little eyes and stuff like that. There's another heart there, another heart there, right? So you have all these hearts going around. Very used blade, but then the rest of it's so intricate and detailed and fancy. It is kind of interesting. The whole armor set kind of is, right? Yeah, the different layers of armor there to look great. There is an assembly right there it is fairly noticeable on the front. On the back, it barely is. On the front, it kind of is. I think if you painted it up, it actually wouldn't be super noticeable, but you may want to fill that and kind of try and texture it a little bit. Yeah, very cool. Very heavy. A solid mini there. All right, this is a fun one. And again, probably the heaviest. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the heaviest mini. It is a solid hunk of plastic is what it is. Pretty impressive. So, obviously, it's disgusting in there with all the eyeballs and eyelids and junk, right? It does have hands, and the hands look fairly normal, actually, as it has this, like, tapestry coming on, and then, again, this, like, kind of almost, like, hooked-like one, too, as it's, like, tying the string together. And then, to give it form and shape, it's got this cloak that you see just kind of floating about. And you get that sense of forward motion by it being in the back, by it going even past the base, and all the lines kind of being angled up and to the right? Or to the left, if you're looking this way, I guess. But yeah, very cool. The layers of the fabric look super cool as well. I dig that. I will say, this is kind of interesting. This is really crisp. And then this is a little bit softer. So if you see the difference between the fabric here and then between the fabric here, it's like very soft here. So I don't know what caused that. I don't know if it's just the steel molding needs a little bit touched up or what, but that's kind of interesting. You can almost see that like maybe it started to cool a different rate or something like that, but very, very crisp here, not so much here. However, with the ethereal form of this, it gets saved by that, right? Otherwise, it'd be, I think, be more unfortunate. The swirls and stuff in here, and maybe that's what it's actually trying to show is like crisp detail here, and then it slowly gets less detailed here. I could see that too. Either way, it looks very cool. I like the separate, like, kind of rope fabric stuff there. That's pretty neat. All right, we got this guy. Obviously, very, very cool. Love the lion head. Right, all the different hair here. It is a little bit different. You have some that are a little bit more textured and some that aren't textured at all. So that's kind of interesting to see, right? You can see the difference. Whole bunch of lines, almost none, right? So different styles there. The pants are super cool. This is filled in, which is kind of unfortunate, but okay. I'm fine with that. That's underneath, right? You're not looking there. The spikes here, actually quite nice. Those are cool. Those are pretty tiny. It helps that the scale of this is a little bit larger. The feet look fantastic. No problem melding that in. Fingers, the whole hand looks great. Whatever these things are, they're kind of like wings, I guess. I don't know. Very cool. I love the wrapping. It would look very cool painted because of the wrapping there. Awesome belt buckle, right? Muscle definition's good. The different hair is good. Assembly is quite nice too. I think they did a good job there. Yeah, just a cool guy. Again, love the open mouth. Textured inside the mouth too. So they won on that one too. All right. We only got a couple more here. So here's this one. Again, an even bigger blade. Love the like intricate lay here. That would look super cool painted, of course. It's nothing but eyeballs and teeth, right? And legs and one arm to swing a weapon, and that's really it. This is probably just as dangerous, though. It looks really gross. Looks like you could use it as a weapon. I love the fact that the pupils have different shapes and stuff, and you could really paint that nicely. The assembly looks really good. The armor layers are nice and crisp, so those look cool. Again, we got the tiny legs. I dig that. And again, assembled quite well. Base is distinct. You can see the tiny little bit of what might be a head right there, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, just the blade itself is just kind of fun. It's that chunky style that they do so well. Tiny, tiny base too, which I think almost helps sell how big that weapon is, right? Okay. Looks like we got, I think, 2 more. So we have this one, which, again, super awesome. Her sitting up here is very cool. It's very off-putting just because of this like giant monster thing, of course. The hair texture, fantastic there. Actually really, really good. Love the ears. Facial features are fantastic as well. Overall, just she's very expressive, which I like. I think that's awesome. But these like worm things are crazy. I love the like moss growth on them and stuff like that. The heavy wrinkles, they look very worm-like. But then like when the mouths are open, you see this here. I like the little drool you're getting on the bottom of this one. That's super cool, the like main one. Assembly was done pretty well. This is just a really interesting mini for a lot of different reasons. She's one of them. The like kind of moss and vines on them are one of them, right? The open mouth one showing what's inside there, very cool. There's another one right there. So yeah, overall quite good. The teeth came out good on all the other ones. Very happy with that one. And now we get quite a few of these, and this is probably one of the cooler minis, right? This is just neat because it's a giant skull with like two kind of fairy-like people on it. The chains not being flat and filled in here, kind of a bummer. A quite major mold line on the side. The skull is a highlight, so I'll get to that at the end. The people are well defined as they're kind of like holding the skull. I think that's awesome. The crown looks incredible. I think they did a great job with that. For the skull, it would have been interesting. Skulls normally have like these lines here on the top, and it says this is quite flat. You could paint that as part of the crown, like it's a cap, and maybe that would work. But otherwise, I would think it would have those like little like bone plates on the top that they didn't quite get to. The hair texture is very good. The front of the skull, though, looks incredible. Very recessed eye holes, cracks, and stuff like that. The teeth are super interesting. Looks like one's missing there, which is super cool. It's got this like chipped chin here, and then the inside of it quite interesting as well. Now, it does have this post here, but that's not really the focus. I'm not too concerned about that. It is nice and smooth. A clear one probably would have been pretty cool too, but it seems to not be too heavy, but definitely easy to pop over. So just as an FYI, because of how small the base is, it could fall. But yeah, you get quite a few of these. Very, very cool. I love the angled up and angled down of the people. Getting the gemstones look cool. Yeah, very, very cool. All right, so that's it, guys. Wait. Yeah, no, that's it. That's all of them. Here you can see them here. There's a lot. Guys, this is, again, just like wave 1 of, or part 1 of wave 2. So it's like 2A, I think is what they're calling it. So plenty more to come. Excited to see what else they have in store. I'll obviously show them off as soon as I get them. And yeah, anyway, that's Middara. I think they do have some like resin kits available. They do have some stuff. They have their web store where you can buy into it. I'll link down to all that down in the description below. Of course, you can check them out. But yeah, Sagios Publishing still delivering. Very, very cool. All right, guys, I got 2 bonus boxes that came in Wave 2A. Super excited for this, especially because this one, I have all the resin pieces to this. So I get to compare their resin to their regular plastic, at least their more updated plastic quality, to actually kind of compare and contrast the two. So that'll be really cool, so you guys can see which version you kind of like. They do have a web store, by the way. I know I've put some text on here for that, but you can save 10% for being a viewer of the King of Average. So save yourself 10% with the code AVERAGE, and you guys can get the resin versions or these boxes, stuff like that. Also, really cool that they are doing these, because for a while, these were just resin. They were limited. You see how this is a 2021 pack. So they are slowly making those into the mass market kind of plastic version, which is super cool. I'm really glad to see that, because it's just very pro-consumer. I was recently unboxing another game that I really much enjoy, DC Deck Building. And they have started like printing their promos, and you can buy their promo packs, right? And they're clearly March promos, so they're not worth as much as the regular, but at the same time, it's game content that now you're not missing out on, and so you can get all of this stuff, which I think is super cool. Really, really happy that Succubus Publishing is doing that. All right, so take the plastic off of them, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the resin one first, because I want to go ahead and start comparing those. So I even have one that was painted. My wife painted it a long time ago, so she has continued to just be awesome in her painting. But she started out great, and it's not fair, but I'll show you that as well. She painted Casual Zeke, which is super cool. All right, so again, this is already looking actually quite impressive. And I'm not going to compare and contrast each one. I just have kind of a few. Like the locking lid, I think that's great. Here are the cards that you get, and it looks like, oh, this is cool. You even get the art prints. Is that legit? I wasn't expecting that. Like literally, I thought maybe you wouldn't get the art print. What's great about this is it's so one-to-one with the mini that it's a great painting guide, because like this is the exact one. Yeah, you get all the art prints. Very cool. I love that. So as you can see, these are all the ones that you can have. Very awesome to see that. Oh, I'm actually really pumped for that. I was not expecting that. And then of course, again, you get like they have like unique weapons and everything. Like it's not just vanity. They actually kind of like got some gameplay here, which is really cool to play these versions. I really like it, especially this one here, one of my favorites. So this one's also quite dynamic. In fact, a lot of them quite dynamic. I will say, in the resin version, this one, Cersei, very hard to build. That one was a lot of work. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to do a non-painted version. So let's go ahead and compare this one here, because it's got some great texture and all that. We're going to zoom in a little bit. I can tell you right now, this is actually quite good quality. Like really good. They've really upped their game, and I know I've said this several times, but the first version of Middara, you didn't get that for the minis, right? The minis were nice, they were okay, but they certainly weren't like industry leading or even top tier necessarily. And somehow not only are they still delivering, but the quality is doing nothing but increasing. This is actually really good. This is one of the few models you get where the bowstring is actually molded on there. And not only that, but the arrow is not overly big, and it's not completely lined up with the arm. The arms are like not overly thick, same with the hands. It's all kind of true scale here. Really, really impressive. There is a slight difference, which is kind of interesting, and that's this right here. So they wanted a bigger connection piece here, and so they added just a little rock, right? Which is awesome. I'm going to get the resin piece in a moment, and you're going to be able to compare. Honestly, this is a fantastic quality. Resin's obviously very nice as well, and mine are primed, by the way, and so that's a little bit, well, it depends. Some are, some aren't, so we'll see. But yeah, no, the texture on the wings, amazing. The like line increases on the pants, very, very good. The hair, fantastic. That's really cool. The hair is slightly different. That's one of the changes I've noticed. The arrows, especially coming out this way, you can tell it's a separate piece because of how it's coming out. Very cool to see that as well. The belt, even the belt buckle, very well sculpted. That's awesome. Muscle tone looks good. Shirt looks good. The gloves are cool. Facial features are all there, looking great. Love the pointy ears, the headband, all of this, very, very cool. Even the overall design of these, like I said, because these were multi-part resin pieces, they're just more dynamic, right? It's just really, really cool. And as you can see, it actually matches the art quite well. All of these do, which is really cool. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the resin version. Here's the resin version. So you'll notice one thing that's different is the leg, not quite as bent out, right? This one is a little bit more tucked in. So that's kind of, actually, let me zoom in just slightly more so you can really pick out some details here. I'll try and stay in camera. The drawstring obviously thickened up a little bit. Same with the arrow, right? That kind of makes sense. Uh-oh, her, I've moved several times, so I'm gonna have to glue that back on. But just pretend her arm is one piece. There you go. Actually, I'm surprised they've done as well as they have. The hair, as you can see, slightly different, right? This one is a little bit more wound up. I would say that the detail on the feathers is actually more overt here. The lines are a little bit thicker. They've definitely touched it up to get that texture out. So it's a little bit finer detail here. You could actually prefer this one over that. The difference in the layer here, so these feathers versus these feathers, and then this in here, as you can see, it's a little bit thinner, right? Not quite as thick on that. Overall, there's not a huge amount of difference. The hand, and this one is closed, and this one is slightly open, right? Just these tiny little details. Obviously, how I glued it versus how they did a little bit different. There's a little bit more farther out, right? And I would argue a little bit more at an angle, at least than how I ended up connecting it. So they've actually angled her, I think, a little bit as well. But yeah, no, this honestly is about as close to 1-to-1 with some just really smart differences that I'm actually like really, really impressed. Again, the hair, probably the most dynamic piece that's changed, right? Everything else is just super, super minor. They did a great job. Like seriously, this is about as 1-to-1 as you can get. But it's not resin. This is like way more robust and won't break like mine was, right, from a move. Very cool. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the one I painted. So this is Casual Zeke. I love this one. I love the big sword, obviously. I love the leather jacket with the spikes and the cigarette and the roughed up pants and the backwards hat and junk, right? It's just really a lot of fun there. I do see that the hilt slightly bent, so I'll have to bend that back. But that's nothing a little hot water treatment can solve, so that's good. They did keep this kind of like roughed texture here, which is really cool to see. I dig that. It was all flat for mine, so we actually textured it a little bit. But yeah, all this detail, yeah, again, looks really good. Assembly looks good. Let's see, they did fill in this part here. I think that's probably going to be a little different, but we'll have to see. And then it'll be interesting to see if these are a little bit thicker or not. Facial features all there. The glasses came out really, really good. Honestly, this is, again, very good quality plastic. This is not bad at all. Again, just a little bend there, and I think you're good. Even the sword, not too thick, which is very nice. So here is the resin version. And as you can see, quite different. In some cases not. The cigarette, this one sticks out. This one goes straight down, right? Which, again, makes sense for the molding process that they're doing there. The little bandanas, or whatever this is, the little cloth, a little bit thicker here and moved up as opposed to out. But I think that was actually a separate piece. But now it's not. Now it's connected there, and definitely it now wraps up and takes over the whole back of the head. Whereas in this one, you have the hair kind of separate there, right? Otherwise, it looks like the sword is at a different angle, just to make it, I don't know, I guess a little bit more interesting. And again, maybe I could have glued that differently too, right? So when it's resin, some of it just depends. But no, actually, he's holding it slightly differently as well. So here it's connected to his arm, and then here it is not connected to his arm, so his whole hand is separate there. They did also thicken this piece, so this is a lot thinner here than this. This is a lot thicker of a handle. So a little bit more changes than the Remy one, which is really cool. The fingers, by the way, are fantastically sculpted. They even have the fingerless gloves sculpted on there, so you can see his fingers are separate from that. And otherwise, pretty much the same. I noticed there are 2 larger spikes here now versus 3 super tiny ones, right? But no, seriously, this is really cool to see. I think they did a great job with this. Yeah, they definitely did like smart changes, but overall kept the same kind of thing. Also, one thing I'm noticing here is the scale is actually quite different here. I didn't notice that in the other one. Let me just real quick here. It's a little bit different because they're actually at like a different pose, but I'm not seeing much of a difference here. This one seems to be about the same, which is interesting because this one, as you can see, actually quite a bit difference in scale. So that's kind of cool. That's neat. Okay. All right, let's do another one. This one's really fun. So one of the things that they did, and again, if there is anything broken or odd, it looks like just again, I've moved. I haven't touched these up beforehand, so my apologies. But I guess that shows how robust, even their resin, actually quite good. It reminded me a lot of Games Workshop resin. It makes it a little bit more playable. So this, just that piece isn't glued down anymore. Otherwise, it looks like it's fine. Here's the resin version. The assembly, as you can see, actually fairly separate here when I glued that in. But they did include some plastic parts like this, right? And that if it made sense to do this, right? Because it has this fine bow here. And this one, and again, as you can see, the scale's actually different on this one as well. They've changed this to be a lot more angled to the side, right? But the bowstring still there, very cool. Not quite as detailed on the little grips here. And the hand has been made larger, I think, just overall with the scale. But other than that, this is looking pretty close. I am missing her other hand. That's what I'm missing there on the resin. So I apologize for that. As you can see, here it is here with this arrow. The arrow's a little bit thick. I think it fits her bow though it's a lot thicker than the other one. But yeah, no, the detail here, again, very, very good. Assembly's good. So all this is sculpted in there. You get the inside sculpt there on the dress. That's very cool. Love the ribbon and the little ties. And this is all separate. It's not too thick either. It's actually quite thin. Very believable, the cloth. So that works great. This hair piece, I'm actually surprised they did this small of a cinch. I don't know exactly who their manufacturer is. I don't know if they put that on the bottom or not. Yeah, I'm not sure. But either way, a lot of times they will push back against that because it is kind of hard to inject the plastic. But that must be thick enough to where they were able to do it. That's actually kind of cool. Again, normally that's something that would be thickened up, but they obviously worked with their manufacturer who knew what they were doing to produce a good sculpt. Facial features are all there. Seriously, so far these are the best minis I have seen out of Middara. Like, easily. These are really, really good. All right, here's another one. I had only just started on this one, so all I have is the skin here. I haven't painted like the shorts or the top or even the tail or anything like that. It's interesting to see, first of all, again, the scale difference. But second of all, some of the changes. For instance, look at the horns. The horns are different. And this one, they're over, and this one, they are up. That's kind of interesting. It looks like I did lose the top of this too. I apologize. Luckily with resin, it's an easy glue job, but with how good these are, I don't know if I need to. I really don't. Like, I'm actually really impressed with that. The chain even. The chain looks very good wrapped around here. That looks great throughout the whole thing. Her legs are a little bit different, and here they are kind of separate, and then here they are touching together, so that's slightly different there. Again, not a huge amount. And on top of that, I believe I had to glue that, if I'm not mistaken. And so if that's, my glue versus my assembly versus an intended assembly could be different. Hair texture here looks great. The depth changes between like the like suspenders and the like skin and the top and the chain with the cross around and all that very well layered. Even on the sides here, very good. The fingers on the hair, again, assembly here, quite well done. Yeah, this is honestly really cool. Again, I am impressed. I really am with these. This is perhaps one of the most detailed ones. There's just a lot going on here with her platform with like the eyeballs and stuff like that. The giant hands really stand out here, which is super cool. I love kind of the framing that this ends up doing too. And I love how it's spilling over and onto the sides of the base. Not something a lot do, but it's really cool when they do this. This is, by the way, like a solid piece of plastic. Assembly actually went really, really well. I love the depth that added from that. So they did a good job kind of separating that, which is really cool to see. Facial features also looking great. I love the like wrapped kind of almost hair around the horns like that. That's really cool. This little inlet shape here looks good. A little bit of a change in how high this is from assembly there. Like it wasn't quite pressed all the way. Not too bad. Again, maybe I freeze that and change it. Maybe just put some silly putty, or not silly putty, what the heck? Like Milliput or a Vallejo putty in there, something like that. Or, honestly, you can prime and paint it, and nobody's going to point that out as something odd looking on this thing. So yeah, very cool. And again, anytime I get a sitting miniature, I think that's neat. It's just visually interesting to me. Here's another one where, again, the basing, they went all out on the basing here. It is kind of interesting that some have basing and some don't, but I'm not going to complain when I get some. Yeah, this is really, really cool to see some of the, like, scars and, like, roughed up parts of the skin there. That's really interesting. The chains, again, look fantastic. They've made this a little bit flatter, but that fits, I think, with the rest of the cloth, so I'm okay with that. Big old clasps, they're filled in. That's okay. I don't think I'm too hurt about that. Hair looks good. This is probably the biggest mold line I've seen. It should be fairly easy to clean up. Maybe right there is a little bit of a problem. You're going to have to play with it a little bit. Nothing too bad, especially when it's in hair. I prefer this more than this. The sideways one is kind of rough. That one can be really hard to just to get cleaned up well. Now, when it's painted, I don't think it's going to look nearly as obvious. It really depends on how dark the hair ends up being. And whether or not you're putting a wash on it or not. But even then, you can kind of like clean it up there. And again, it shouldn't be too noticeable. The layers of cloth on the back here, very good. I love the little wispy cloth and stuff that's flowing in the wind. All that's very good. Assembly, fantastic. Yeah, great job on that one. Here's one of the more dynamic ones. This one's actually really fun. This one is just cool because, again, the cape is just so dynamic. It takes up so much more space than like all of the other minis. And again, I think a lot taller too than typical. So quite a large scale miniature here. Again, somewhat I feel like the scale is just way random, right? So, and I mean, you can see the size difference here. Maybe that's okay, maybe not, but it is kind of all over the place a little bit. I think some have been enlarged to keep detail, which is fine. Just know that, again, it may not necessarily match the scale of the rest of the game or your characters even. It just kind of depends if you're okay with that. Hair detail, fantastic. All the little details on the cloth. I'm not seeing any kind of blending or softening of details anywhere. They did a great job with this. Even the inside here, even with that line there, very smooth, hardly noticeable. They did a great job with that. A little bit of a mold line right there at the edge. That's a great place to put it because it can get cleaned up easy. The depth between the hair and then the face and then the nose and the eye sockets and stuff all look fantastic. The blade is a little kind of wussy. It's not quite as sharpened as I would have liked. It's a little blunt. I would have liked it to come to a little bit more of an edge there, but overall fine. Yeah, I really like this one. Again, very dynamic, very cool. Oh, I didn't compare the resin version, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. So here, interesting enough, again, I don't think there's been really a scale change at all. It looks about the same and pretty darn close. Again, so the hand is a little bit different here, right? This one they've made a lot more aligned to be straight, so nothing too much there. Even some of the assembly is the same, which is kind of interesting as well. Otherwise, it looks like there's some more detail on the like wrap here compared to this. But again, it's not like they tried to do that detail and just failed. Instead, they just kind of intelligently put what they can do really well. And I think that still works out just fine. Some changes here with like the drippings. That's kind of interesting to see. It looks like this may have dropped off a little bit. But even like this bump here, a little bit different as well. The spikes here have been toned down, right? So it can just little changes, but not a whole lot. This hair being more swoopy here versus in line with her back, I think that's a fine change. That's perhaps one of the larger changes shape-wise. There's just not all this like space here. Again, you're going to get more dynamic with the resin. It's a good buy. The resin, I think, is actually quite good. Very nicely detailed. Everything's all crisp. But if you're getting the plastic version, again, not bad. Okay, this was a hard build. I would recommend this in plastic over resin pretty much any day. Seriously, this was rough. It like really was to get all this to line up. It's all these little tiny pieces. You didn't want to lose it. And they still kept this very dynamic. It's a little bit, again, flatter on here. Nothing too bad here, especially with these swirls here and the layers here make it look really, really good. The fact that these are separate pieces wrapped around instead of even connected and flat, they did a great job with that. I think that's really cool. The arms, again, they've even done that, I think, quite well, especially having them kind of come out here like that. All the little like jewelry bits and stuff like that look really cool. Facial features really good. The hair is connecting, so this whole piece is well supported, which is awesome. Connection points here and here. It's interesting they didn't connect it there. When I did, I connected it there on the resin just again to kind of be a little bit more cautious. Yeah, honestly, great job here. One of the interesting things that I don't know about is this hole here. I don't know what's going on with that. Do you guys see that? That's an interesting... I don't know what that's about. I'll probably fill that in. That's I don't know if it's just a remnant of something or what. You can see another hand even up here behind. So again, painted, this would look even more cool because of that. You get to really see the differences in all the textures. All right, we've got 2 more here, so we're almost done. All right, this is going to be the last one I compare it to. And one of the reasons I wanted to compare this one is because the resin often will even come with some metal bits. So they have resin, they have plastic, they have metal, little chain pieces. It just depends. So that's, again, really cool. This is not primed or anything, which is why you can see the difference there. So here are the 2 versions. Again, scale, a little bit different, right? This one a little bit taller. But that allows them to do, a lot of the detail as well. So it is, what's one thing that's different is the gun is now in line versus out of line like that. But they do still have both characters, still do have her kind of coming off the edge there, which is really cool. Her finger's a little bit different, right? Here it's kind of more separated. Here she's kind of resting her hand on him a little bit. The hair here, fantastic. Honestly, the hair here, fantastic. One of the things I find fascinating is the fact that they actually added this a little bit more dynamic here. So here, her little antenna, horn, ear, hair things that are always sticking up, right? You can kind of see the art here, how it does that, right? Here, it's not, right? It is kind of like laid back. You can see it right there and right there. So they are there, but it's all like in line with that. And here, it's not. The tail is slightly different. So in this one, it kind of curves up and then curls down. And then in this one, it kind of goes a little flat and then comes up. I like the more dynamic version of this, but both work, I think, just fine. Yeah, otherwise, again, all the detail there, the goggles, those look still great. The beard still really poofy there. The muscular arms with the veins and stuff like that, he's still looking nice and strong there. All the pants, the shoelaces and all that looking great. So yeah, overall, again, so just some smart changes. Again, here's the gun here, again, just flat. A little bit more dynamic in the resin. But then there are some things that I like, again, like those sticking up there that I think are a little bit more interesting. They didn't quite put his hood to as much of a point here as this one as well, which I actually think I might like the style of that, maybe a little bit more. Kind of hard to tell. Either way, again, about as close to a 1-to-1 as you can get, and very impressed with the plastic quality here. Okay, the last one we have is the puppy. So we have the puppy one here. This one it looks very, very close to the resin. Again, I'm not really seeing a big difference here. It's not quite as finely detailed. It doesn't need to be, right? The hair and having all of this kind of swirled around everything looks great. I think that actually ended up being very good on the different layers, the different tufts. And then this fur here being separate with the wraps, all that's looking fantastic as well. The teeth molded, I do appreciate that. The inside of the mouth, though, first of all, you're going to have to clean up that mold line, and then it's really flat in there. He's like, there's a tongue or anything like that. Actually, let me take a look real quick. I am curious if this version, and yeah, see on this one, it was like 2 different pieces, and I never filled it in, but you're going to have to fill that in. The teeth look really good there, and there's like a hint of a tongue in there. And then here, it's like the whole tongue's just kind of gone by the looks of it. And the top's just flat too. So inside the mouth, a little kind of bit of a bummer, but otherwise, again, all this hair, it looks practically the same. I think they did a really good job on that. Actually, very, very cool. That's it for this one. So let's go ahead and open the other one real quick. It'll go quicker because I don't have to do any comparisons, right? I do not have the resin version of those. Otherwise, I would show them off just so, again, you can make a good informed purchasing decision. And, do recall, of course, you can save 10% with that code. I don't get any commission or anything like that. It's just I like having deals for you guys as viewers. So don't think that, oh, this is going to be some kickback for me. It's still helpful for both of us, right? Because it lets them know that, hey, you're kind of interested in this and that it was helpful to see this little detailed kind of critique of their miniatures. So that's nice, of course, but I'm not getting any money from it or anything like that. All right, so again, they have all the art prints there and the different cards. Then they have the cards here as well for all the different item upgrades that you're going to get of pink teddy bears, right? Because that's important. And then we have some minis, including some quite dynamic ones. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, I actually kind of like that I'm seeing some with the resin and some just on their own. And I can just critique this as the miniature you're getting. This one, I remember like the first time I saw this, the render, not sculpt, of this, because again, it's such a unique pose, kind of being like downtrodden, like on the ground, on your knees, just like depressed and sad, you know, head hung low. Now, all that's really, really cool. The chain, very interesting that it's kind of spiky. That's a little different. The feet, I don't know if I can see any toes necessarily. I don't really see it sculpted on the bottom of the feet. Right, so this is kind of flat on there, kind of upturned. The arms kind of tied and bound to the floor like that, very kind of interesting. Same with the chains to the head, that's also very cool. Again, just a very unique pose. It looks like her mouth is open, and she's like, I read that as anguish, right? Like just a very kind of emotional piece. I think that's very neat. All right, then we have some crazy people here with like crazy chainsaws. This is much more in the cartoonish version, right? I like the connection on the base. I think that looks great. Foot's clearly separate from the base and the rock, so that works well. The tail, I do like the hint of some fur. It's just more of a top texture versus like long strands of fur, so that's kind of interesting. They did kind of thicken this leg by having this cloth kind of wrap around it, but I'm not really seeing it kind of blend in too much. There's maybe not enough separation right here at the top of the calf here, where it looks like it's blended in a little bit, but nothing too bad. And maybe it's coming in a little too much here. It looks like it gets really skinny here, skinnier than it maybe needs to be. But otherwise, everything else about that looks good. These little kind of like bands of cloth look great. I love the chainsaw. It's supposed to be bent like that. It's just goofy and silly and ridiculous. So that's fun. Her face is like crazy. Looks like she's got fangs and like dilated eyes and junk. She's just going to like chainsaw you to death. So that's, I mean, obviously ideal. I love the little exhaust on here, and I like that instead of it being flat on the top, there's these little divots, right, where you can paint that really well to have it look like it's going in. So that's fun. There's another one. It's kind of the same thing, but a different pose, a very different pose. Again, love the attachment to the base. I think that's cool. The giant arm or hand is very cool as well. Love the big old like beast claws and stuff like that. Again, crazy face still there. The like side shaved hair with like the hair on the side, very, very fun. A different kind of chainsaw, but still bent and silly and kind of fun. So that's really cool. Yeah, it's like chained to her, so she's like attached to this chainsaw. That's interesting. Different tail here as well, which is awesome to see. Yeah, they're just having a blast there, which again is a lot of fun. Looking at the connection here, I think this is actually a pretty good separation. It's not too smooth. There is definitely a guide there. Your brush should even be able to match that, and doesn't like it's really going into either leg. So that you did a great job, I think, connecting them there. On the front, maybe not quite as smooth, but still fairly okay right there. I think it's because of the mold line there. And assembly, it does look like this has popped out a little bit, so might have to kind of fill that in, at least on mine. Okay. Let's look at, this guy here. This is fun. Yeah, so first of all, again, he looks crazy with that big, like, Willem Dafoe smile going on. He's got this awesome, like, headpiece here with the pelt. He's got this, like, spiked kind of, wrapped, like, whip cord thing that's really, really long. He's got two of them, which is kind of cool. This smaller one and then this longer one. Which, again, very neat. And then he's got a little bit even wrapped over here as well. That's, again, kind of interesting. I like the layers to the pelt. I think that looks great. Cloth all looks good. He's got this, like, chest hair, which is really interesting to see sculpted. You don't see that often sculpted on minis. So that's kind of interesting to see. But, yeah, otherwise, it looks like he even has, like little muscle tone on his sides that are really interesting too. Small mold line, nothing too bad there. The end of the whip here, that looks really cool. That's like some kind of like bone thing or something going on there. So yeah, again, very, very dynamic. I love the almost 2 layers because he has his arm and the whip in front and then in back like that. Makes it really, really dynamic. Okay, we're getting to some of the bigger ones now. So here is this one. Again, very, very dynamic. I think what's interesting here is that these two guys form like angel wings, but it's on one side and then the other. So one has a left wing, one has a right wing, which is very kind of cool. So the base as well, again, very, very unique here, where it's like their cloth is like swirled around them and coming out of this like portal, pool thing going on, like a magical thing or something like that. It's got like these little bubbles in them. Looks like there might be, that might just be visual. It's kind of hard to tell. The texture on the wing, again, fantastic. Texture on the tops as well as the sides here. So they definitely did a lot of attention to detail there. They have their bows, but these bows are not strung. I think that's okay for this one. I just like that it's separate from the wing. I think that's really cool. And it looks like she's sitting on their shoulders. Assembly looks good there, especially on his arm there. They have different like facial expressions, which is kind of cool. They're even looking in different locations, which is also pretty neat. Her hair separated from her face, even her ear showing there. Very cool. The little headdress thing, that's obviously neat as well. And then it looks like her hand is like on his head, and it all looks quite separate and easily distinguished on, what it is you're looking at and what piece is what. So I think one of the interesting things here is just how textured these wings are compared to everything else. It really helps, I think, frame it a bit more. And again, huge base for what it is. Okay, now we have this one too. This is like the weird like demon guy. The piercings are like, they look separate, which is actually really, really cool to see. That is some like really good detail there. As he's like a weird like goat dude, right? The hair on his chest, on his like shoulders, on his arm, all that looks really good. It looks like that makes a face. That's kind of fun. The beads, all that looks really good. The horns, nicely textured. I think, yeah, this is assembled on the head, and the head all looks cool with this like goat like face or whatever. Otherwise, it looks like her hand on his hand. Very cool to see. That's a nice little touch. That's interesting. And she's like sort of like sitting on his like weird like goat leg before it bends in, which again, very, very dynamic. Same with these people on there. He's like literally stepping on this person, just all over these people. This guy's like I don't know what even they're coming out of here. I'm not quite sure. But again, even like back here, his facial features look really cool. And then if you look at this person here, you can see they have like this like horn and then a horn in there. So that's really cool to see as well. And yeah. I mean, just the separation between the base, all the pieces, a very tough assembled miniature, but they managed it. And then we have one more here, and this is just a fun one. What's going on here? So this is just a wild kind of almost set piece. Let me zoom out slightly for this one. Actually, a little bit larger. Again, the detail on these miniatures, hugely improved. Looks really good. I really dig it. So yeah, there's all these like guns like sitting in like this base. There's like birds like coming out of these. Then there's like these like upside down people that are like freaking out, and they're like bound and like wrapped up in junk, which is again crazy. This person, like this guy, like it looks like something's in his stomach and it's like stitched up, and he's like wrapped around everywhere, and there's like spikes coming out of him, and he's upside down, and it looks like there are like, I don't know if those are bird wings coming out of his neck or what. I don't know what's going on. That's wild. That's just crazy. And then this chick is here with like her like two guns, which again, there's very much a gun theme here. It looks like she has like near automata kind of style like wrapping on her eyes, like she's Illidan or something, right? But then the hair's covering that. But she has like this like crown kind of thing, which is interesting. I love the teddy bear. That's a lot of fun. That'd be great to paint. I think that's super awesome. The like fishnet leggings that you see just from like her like tall boots to her like knees here. That's an interesting texture. They definitely did that in a different way than I'm used to seeing, which is kind of interesting as well. There's some fine detail on some of these guns, by the way, like whether it's a feather, whether it's engraving on it, that again just came out really, really well. There are pieces, again, that are quite separate. The cloth going back is very cool. Just, again, a very cool set piece. But you know what, guys? That is it for these. I was really excited to get these. I actually delayed this video to show them off because I was really excited, especially to compare them to the resin. And I must say, quite impressed with the quality of these. Seriously, this is a big step up for them, and I think these are going to be really fun to play with. Again, some of my favorite designs are actually in this one. Overall, though, a really big package. There's a lot here, and this is like Wave 2A. So yeah, really impressed there. Again, you can save some money if you want to check out their website, and you're able to purchase a lot of this stuff, including even the base game if you want to buy in. So feel free to check that out. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. See ya. Bye.